Good Morning Liberty.
Well, what is up, all of our liberty-loving friends? This is another fantastic episode of Good Morning Liberty. My name is Nate Thurston. Across from me is the one and the only Mr. Charles Chuck Thompson. How's it going today, Mr. Charles Chuck Thompson?
How's it going?
It's pretty good. We've been watching this RFK hearing together this morning, all morning. And
I just hate these hearings.
I know.
On both sides, by the way. It's not like it's just because it's a Trump nominee, but they tend to just not let the person answer.
Yeah.
You know, it's all set up.
Like as soon as they start to answer the question, they're like, oh, we got to move on. I got another question.
Yeah,
here.
my time.
The point is not for them to actually answer the question. It's for you to get your accusation or statement out.
Exactly.
And as soon as they start the answer, then it's time to interrupt them.
And they misframe things, take things out of context. And this has this has happened for years. It's theater.
Yeah.
It's theater.
It is a lot of theater.
This is what and I've learned this going through a court case of my own. You know, a lot of times the judge won't even let you, they'll ask you a question, you'll start to answer, and the judge will just be like, no, I've made my ruling. There's no explanation needed. And it's like, well, you're missing all the context. Like, it doesn't make sense to a reasonable person.
Yeah.
Because they just, and then there are people who are really skilled at doing that, and they go into government. That's who those people are.
I want to play, here's a clip from the hearing this morning. This is important to me because he's not going to take our cheeseburgers away and our Diet Coke and all that. So that's important. Here's that clip.
Just understand it and make sure that Americans are aware of it. I don't want to take food away from anybody. If you like a cheeseburger, a McDonald's cheeseburger, a Diet Coke, which my boss loves, you should be able to get them. If you want to eat Hostess Twinkies, you should be able to do that. But you should know what the impacts are on your family and on your health.
Okay, he doesn't want to ban those things, so I guess that's good. Those places will still be able to sell everything. I think people being aware.
You should know the impacts to your health and then be responsible.
You should also be responsible for
the
your health,
decisions
too.
that you've made.
Now, he didn't say that part
I know.
out loud, but wouldn't that fix an awful lot of things, actually? I mean, it's not something I planned on talking about, but what if we were truly responsible for all the health impacts and wasn't subsidized by other people who were healthy and paying into a system or being taxed? Like, what if we were truly responsible for everything that happened, and when we got older in our 60s, we didn't just live off of people that were paying into the Medicare system or whoever, that we would be responsible for whatever our health was at that time that you turned 65 or whatever the age was? Wouldn't you spend your life being more thoughtful about the things that you took in and how healthy you were at that time? And
well, we hold other people, so Brittany's never seen Aaron Brockovich, so we watched that the other night.
Yeah.
And it's
Brockovich, but yeah.
Brockovich. Yeah. It's decent.
It's a great movie. What do you mean it's decent?
Well, it's a good movie.
I cry at the end of that movie every single time.
I cried the
every
other
single
night.
when they meet that lady and tell her how much money she's getting and everything.
But they proved right that PG&E was polluting the water source, which led to cancer and all kinds of other things. So we held those people responsible for the medical problems that were caused. Why can't we hold yourselves accountable for the medical decision or the medical problems you have based on the decisions that you made? Like, I'm sorry, this is coming from someone who has a dad that has type 2 diabetes.
Yeah.
But
a lot less legs than he used to have too.
I can't say 100% it's always your fault, but 99% of the time that is literally due. Type 2 diabetes is due because of your poor diet.
Type 2 is very treatable by diet.
Yeah.
Like that's, my mom had it and she was having to take insulin and stuff like that. And she just went to a low carb, keto diet. Didn't have to take meds anymore.
No.
It was gone after that, like the diet is pretty important,
And so those types of things, it's like, okay, why are we shelling out, billions of dollars for other people's poor decisions? The incentive, and I'm not saying we shouldn't take care of people. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that would create an incentive for people to make the healthy choice.
Yeah.
Because it's like, oh man, I'm going to be responsible for
I saw this
hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars.
We're going to talk about the Medicaid freakout that happened yesterday. and go through some of the responses on that. By the way, we're going to talk about the Medicaid thing. We're going to play a few clips that are going around from the RFK thing. Some of the stuff, I mean, the whirlwind of Trump executive orders and actions and stuff like that. There's so many things to cover every single day that could be part of his strategy. Like, just get everything done in 2 weeks, you know, and let it all shake out. But one of the responses I saw when everyone was like, oh, Trump canceled Medicaid yesterday, I saw a top comment on one of the posts said, it's terrible if all these people are going to be left without health care. Are there any private organizations we could donate to that are going to be able to help these people that are in need? And I was like, yes, exactly. Thank you. Exactly.
Yeah. I've said before, I think the government should operate as a charity.
Yeah.
They should solicit donations.
Oh, God. That would be so
Here's
much
the other
better.
thing I'll say, because I don't want to just call out other people. I'll call out myself. Like, I'm not in the shape that I want to be in. I'm not in RFK Jr. shape.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But whose fault is that?
It's RFK Jr.
It's mine.
Oh, it's yours. Okay.
No one else should be responsible if I were to get type 2 diabetes or whatever the case may be because of poor decisions that I've made for my own health. No one else should be responsible for that.
Yeah.
It should be the decisions that I make, you know? When I eat that extra cookie, that's my choice and my fault.
I do think one thing that would be important for
As
all of us.
Costco points out, I'm fat.
I don't think the government has to do it, but I think one thing RFK would like is that we're all aware of the potential effects of all the chemicals that are in our food. Like, we're libertarians here. I'm not a big fan of banning anything, but I do think it would be nice to know the effects of all the chemicals that are in our food and, you know, at the rate at which we ingest them. Like, you could say anything is super harmful, like this causes cancer, but if you give it to a mouse at like 100 times the normal rate that a human would ingest it, it gets cancer. You know what I mean? So I want to know like what the actual effects of these foods are. I think that's an important thing. And, you know, it's I hope that's more what he moves towards and not banning things. Here's another interesting exchange that occurred when, let's see, Mark Warner was asking him to commit to not firing anyone at HHS, essentially. I mean, that's essentially what was happening. Here's that clip.
A lot more on. Will you commit not to fire anyone in the health arena who currently works on protecting Americans from cyber attacks in their healthcare files?
I will commit to not firing anybody who's doing their job.
Based on your opinion? Based upon your opinion or your political agenda or Mr. Trump's political agenda?
Based upon my opinion.
I guess that means a lot of the folks who've had any type of views on vaccines will be out of work.
Oh, okay.
What an assumption.
That wasn't the exchange I thought it was. I saw another one where they were talking about 2,200 people, and he wanted him to commit to not firing anyone that was working on specific diseases and stuff like that. And he's like, there's 91,000 people that work at HHS. I'm not going to commit to not firing any of them right now.
Right.
You could say that every single one of them has an important job protecting the health of Americans and get me to commit to not firing them. This is another 30-second exchange here.
God, when you think about like in terms of employees, how many Fortune 500 size companies does the government have?
Well, they've got 2 million direct employees, which we'll talk about here in a second. I think Trump just did the most important thing he's done so far as it pertains to those employees. And then they've got 20 million contractors, independent contractors that work for them. So imagine a business, how many businesses it would take to have 22 million employees. It's a lot. It's a lot of businesses. Here's one where he talks about the affordable
like Walmart doesn't have.
Yeah, I know. They got like 2 million employees, something like that.
Yeah,
so Amazon has, like 1.5 million, something like that. So like, yeah.
And we talk about like
big.
those are big corporations.
It's big, man.
That's why I always say like the biggest corporation we have is government.
Yeah. And it's got the use of force. If you don't do it at once, it'll put you in a freaking cage.
Exactly.
Here's another clip. It was good.
Americans by and large, do not like the Affordable Care Act people are on it. They don't like Medicaid. They like Medicare. And they like private insurance. We need to listen to what they would prefer to be on private insurance. Most Americans, if they can afford to be, will be on private insurance. We need to figure out ways to improve care, particularly for elderly, for veterans, for the poor in this country. And Medicaid, the current model is not doing that. Americans don't.
Oh, that's not the whole clip either, man. I didn't have time to vet these because I was watching the hearing and I just saw clips going around. There were people laughing in the background. At the end of it, he said, like, I want to, something to the people chuckling right now. Do you think that $900 billion we're spending is making people healthier? What is the outcome of this? Are people happy with the premiums they're paying and all that and all the money that's being spent? Are people getting healthier? And he did a good job making a good point where he makes the point about the Affordable Care Act and people liking private insurance. That's actually correct. After that healthcare CEO was murdered, there were surveys that went around, and most people who had insurance were fairly happy with the healthcare insurance that they had. They don't like insurance. They don't like insurance companies, but they were like fairly happy with their healthcare insurance, and so that's true. And people don't like the healthcare exchanges because the options are so limited. The networks are narrow and all that. Yeah, and they're still expensive and they're very limited, very narrow. And so they're not happy with that either. He talks about people not being happy with Medicaid. Medicaid is extremely limited in the coverage options. The doctors you can go and see, the different facilities you can go to, because a lot of people don't want to take it because they don't pay.
You don't get paid.
Yeah. It's And
especially in some states, they'll literally just write an IOU. Like they don't pay you.
Let's see. Oh,
for
that's
half
where
the year.
That's where he says that there's a few other clips going around where the Democrats saying like, oh, he just got owned. Look at that. He's a vaccine conspiracy theorist. To kind of wrap up the bit of the RFK conversation, I want to get to some of the Medicaid freak out from yesterday because it was ridiculous. Nicole Shanahan, who was the vice presidential candidate along with RFK on the ticket with RFK.
She came out swinging.
Yeah. She's a billionaire. She's got a lot of money.
Yep.
And she issued a little threat, and everyone's really happy about the threat. Here's that.
Hey everyone, tomorrow is a pivotal moment in our nation's history. At 10 a.m. Eastern Time, RFK will sit in front of the Senate Finance Committee for his confirmation hearing to be our nation's next Secretary of Health and Human Services. I urge everyone to call their U.S. senators over the following days and demand they vote yes on Bobby's nomination. He is more than qualified. He's proven, principled, and prepared to lead. I'll share a list below of key senators. If they represent your state, they need to hear from you. If they don't, please call your own senator and ask them to vote yes. We need as many votes as we can get. So this hasn't been widely reported, but in 2020, I cut large checks to Chuck Schumer to help Democrats flip 2 Senate seats in Georgia from red to blue. The 2 candidates I helped elect, Senator Raphael Warnock and Senator John Ossoff. Please know I will be watching your votes very closely. I will make it my personal mission that you lose your seats in the Senate if you vote against the future health of America's children. And more than that, I also want to say to Senators Mitch McConnell, Lindsey Graham, Lisa Murkowski, Susan Collins, Bill Cassidy, Tom Tillis, James Lankford, Cory Booker, John Fetterman, Bernie Sanders, and Catherine Cortez Masto, this is a bipartisan message, and it comes directly from me. While Bobby may be willing to play nice, I won't. If you vote against him, I will personally fund challengers to primary you in your next election, and I will enlist hundreds of thousands to join me. Big Pharma and Big Ag have exploited us for far too long. It ends now. You're either on the side of transparency and accountability, or you are standing in the way. The choice is yours. Please choose wisely.
Wow.
Tell you what, that she would burn your shit. That's the kind of, that's the kind of vibe I'm getting now.
This is the kind of FU money.
Yeah.
That's like, I will personally see to it that you never hold public office ever again. And I will spend all the money I have to ensure that's the case.
Oh God.
Can you imagine?
I want to get there. That's where I want to be. Let's see. Oh, this is still going on. Let's jump in and see who's talking.
Is this a threat?
Huh?
Is that a threat?
It sounds like a threat.
That's definitely sounds
Chairman,
like a threat.
and just congratulations on
We're
your
gonna
nomination,
spend
Mr.
1
Kennedy.
minute and just see what
I've
happens.
been absent only because I've been in another hearing with the nominee to be the Commerce Secretary. So I will review everything that you've said
No one cares.
today and look at that diligently. But one of the things that I wanted to discuss with you is I represent a very big innovation state. And innovation in healthcare specifically. Innovation like NIH funding to the Fred Hutch Cancer Center that helped develop the HPV vaccine, which has the potential to eliminate over 95% of cervical cancer. NIH also.
By the way, right now there's a sign up that says NIH funding saves lives plus creates jobs. 2020 disagrees. Just so you know.
They're just trying to balance the scales.
Just want to let you know.
We save some lives over here. We destroy some others over here. It all evens out in the wash, you know?
Let's see. Magoo says we should go back to Bernie's line of questioning. Is it pretty good? Let me see what we got here. What did we miss? I'm gonna trust you, Magoo. We're gonna do it. Hey, join gmail.com if you want to control the message.
Or have the option.
Okay. I had the option. Yeah, you don't always get it. But
We can always say no.
We can exercise the option at any time.
As you indicated, 2 or 3 times as much per capita in healthcare as other nations.
Oh, God.
We have 85 million people who are uninsured, underinsured. We have all kinds of chronic illnesses.
Does
Our
Warren
life
have COVID
expectancy
right
is
there,
lower than
just
other
coughing
countries.
on-
And for working class
I wish.
people in this country, they are living 6-7 years shorter lives than the top 1%. We got a problem, okay? And I'm going to suggest some ideas that I think can remedy that. Last year, the insurance industry in this country made over $70 billion, while at the same time, 85 million Americans are uninsured or underinsured. Do you agree with me that the United States should join every other major country on earth and guarantee health care to all people as a human right? Yes? No?
Senator, I can't give you a yes or no answer to that question.
Health care a human right? Is health care a human right?
In the way that free speech is a human right,
Yeah.
I would say it's different because with free speech doesn't cost anybody anything, but in healthcare, if you smoke cigarettes for 20 years and you get cancer, you are now taking from the pool.
Well,
and so are you guaranteed the same right, or is there also a duty?
I'm sorry. I'd love to talk for an hour with you.
Pause. My answer would have been like, Senator, what is human?
Yeah.
I can't answer your question.
What's a human?
On the count of I don't know what a human is.
What's a human? It's his answer's starting off pretty good so far. I mean, first off, he just needs to say no, but he just to point out what he already said, like he clarified in the same way as like the right to free speech is a human right, and Sanders is like, yeah. It's like, well, that's different. You know, your right to speak freely doesn't cost someone else something.
It doesn't.
And so he's starting off down the right track, which is that you're not forcing someone else to work on your behalf so they can pay someone else to do something for you. And so clearly you can't have a human right or a human right.
Or an human right.
Either one of those humans. You can't have that right to force someone else to work on behalf of you. All right. Yeah, this is very nostalgic. And it reminds me of that exchange between Rand Paul and Bernie where he says that he supports slavery because he says that healthcare is a human right. And the first point RFK makes here is a good point. Like, you smoke cigarettes for 20 years and you get lung cancer, and then it's your right to force someone else to pay for that, you know?
Yeah.
No, absolutely not. And all the stuff that Bernie started off with in his question, like we have a shorter life expectancy, you know, we have our healthcare costs whatever amount more than other. So much of this can be explained by the fact that we're so freaking fat. We're so fat.
As a
America
nation.
just so fat.
Yeah.
Okay. And we have just terrible, awful food. Okay. And so first off, if you fix what RFK wants to fix, which is the chronic disease epidemic in America, healthcare costs would go down a lot. There is a lot of money that's being spent that doesn't need to be spent right now. There's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of people taking from the insurance pool that if that was fixed, don't need to be taking from the insurance pool, which would actually allow insurance costs to come down. And those 85 million uninsured or underinsured people, which is a completely subjective number. Like, what does that even mean? I have no idea. You can literally put anyone into that you want. And those people would be able to be properly insured, whatever the proper insurance amount is. And so, yeah, anyway.
To add on to that, what the live group is saying here is food right. You know, how can you can't, which all libertarians know this, but you can't have a right that
to something that must be provided by someone else.
Yeah.
That's the meme. That's
Exactly.
the meme. Whatever that meme is that's been going around.
You do the math.
Nothing that requires the labor of another person is a human right. It can't be.
Also,
right?
I forgot about this. Magoo mentions in honor of BernieLies.com. That's right. BernieLies.com.
We still have that URL. I think it just goes to our link page or whatever. I don't know
Check
which
it
one
out.
it goes to.
Bernie Lies.
It used for new people who are listening, it used to go to a website back when Bernie was running for president. We made a website that looked exactly like Bernie Sanders' website, only each point disproved every point that Bernie made at that exact location on his website.
On his campaign website.
Yeah. It took a lot of time, a lot of effort to make that web page, but it was great. It was good stuff. It's just not quite as relevant anymore as
You can still go to it.
Used to be.
Gives you our links
Yeah,
there.
just links to everything. That's what it opens up. I wanted to point out, since we do, you need to do a little bit shorter today because you got something coming up here soon. Trump did yesterday what I think could be the best thing he's done so far. And I think I've said that every day so far, that he did the best thing that he's done so far. I've been fairly happy with what's happened so far, I'm not one of these people who watches a video of someone getting deported and I'm like, get that Mexican out of here, I'm not one of those.
You like when Dr. Phil does it, though, to the Asian guy?
Yeah.
Because of your family?
Yeah, that's what it is. But this one is big. This is a really big deal. We talked about the amount of people who work for the government.
Well, it's a big deal
earlier.
if, how many people are going to take it.
A lot of people are going to take it.
You think so?
Yeah.
And then what are they going to do?
8 months of pay.
Yeah, but
you can just go get another job somewhere.
But it's so hard to
8
fire
months.
a federal employee. Like basically you get a federal job. It's like you're set for life.
I know, but you can take almost a year's worth of pay and go get a different job.
But then you have to work.
But do they want to stay and work for Trump and deal with this the whole time? And this is literally something that
I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just curious.
It's an amazing thing. However many people they get to quit is amazing because they essentially can't fire these people. So it's a really big deal. If they get a few 100,000 people to take it, that would be a monumental moment in U.S. history because you can't fire these people essentially without going to court. The Trump administration offers roughly 2 million federal workers a buyout to resign. All the federal workers are like, hey, please F off. We'll give you this money. Just leave me alone. Okay. The reason this is super important is because they essentially can't be fired. They've got these civil service protections. Most federal employees are part of the civil service system, which includes protections under laws like the Civil Service Reform Act of 1978 provides rights like due process, which means they can't be fired without cause and must have the opportunity to respond to allegations. There's a Merit Systems Protection Board. There's union representation inside of the government, which shouldn't even be legal in the first place. It's very, very difficult to get rid of these people. And these people, I don't care what job they're in. Listen up. I don't care. They work on behalf of a government, which is a cancer on American society and the people, all of us who live here. The government is ground zero of the chronic disease epidemic because they're the biggest freaking chronic disease that we all have to deal with every single day. And these people are the ones who actually do the things that the government does. And so any of them that we can get rid of, I don't care who they are, any of them we can get rid of, this is a good thing. And this is kind of the same thing that Elon offered to Twitter employees when he first came. And, a bunch of people who, imagine all the people who work from home now, who hardly ever go to the office, who moved away from Washington, D.C., who still work from home. And he's saying, you got to come back and work in the office, or you got a week. I'm offering to give you 8 months of pay if you just resign. Okay,
it does
you don't
say
have
a senior
to move back.
administration official told NBC News they expect 5 to 10% of the federal workforce to quit.
Yeah.
So
100, 200,000 people,
that would
something
be
like that.
100 to 200,000 people.
Good. Now, and of course, they say it's around $100 billion in savings.
Probably over 10 years.
That's a 10-year figure. That's something that everyone does, Republican or Democrat. If it's something that makes it seem like a bigger deal, they will do it. But hey, that's money. That's your money that's getting paid out. And so I like any of these savings. It is a nice start.
The Fed
for
Haters
sure.
Club says I'm so freaking white-pilled right now. That's great. There's been some good things that have happened.
Oh, it's White Pill Wednesday. Let's spend a couple minutes on this before we have to go. Yesterday was hilarious on X. Okay, so this order for freezing federal grants and loans went out. We talked about that yesterday. And for whatever reason, the Medicaid portal was shut down. Okay, and so that meant that the state that went to go request the money from the federal government to pay for whatever the Medicaid services were yesterday, for like 4 hours, they weren't able to do it. And essentially, almost everyone died. Almost everyone died yesterday, just so you guys know. Now, that was not ordered by the federal government for that to happen.
Not ordered by Trump?
The order itself said that specifically that they were looking to weed out things that violated Trump's executive orders, like DEI programs.
And
stuff
also
like
the
that.
order specifically said this is not to misconstrue.
Yeah, it said Medicare and Social Security,
Right.
not Medicaid. The confusion, if there was any, for a second was, well, this is not a direct payment to a person. This is states coming and requesting the money, and then they use it for the people. So technically, we're not paying, the federal government's not paying that directly to the people. We're paying it to the states, and then the states are taking care of it. And so anyway, for a few hours, it was shut down. My suspicion is that this is another one of the things that they're doing where someone in the government doesn't like Trump, wants to create some kind of a media uproar. And even though they know it doesn't apply, like, ask yourself, did Trump sign an executive order to shut down Medicaid yesterday? Use your brain for 2 seconds. Did that executive order, should it be construed that he wanted to turn off Medicaid funding?
Well, of course, he's a fascist.
Yeah. Okay.
Would you expect anything less from a fascist dictator?
So what happens is some low-level person who's got the login information goes in there and shuts off the portal. So everyone freaks out and says, oh, Trump just destroyed Medicaid. This is what's happening. My God, the freakouts from people yesterday were just ridiculous. The OMB, by the way, said, no, any program that provides direct benefits to Americans is explicitly excluded from the pause and exempted from this review process. In addition to Social Security and Medicare, mandatory programs like Medicaid and SNAP will continue without pause. Funds for small businesses, farmers, Pell Grants, Head Start, rental assistance, and other similar programs will not be paused. If agencies are concerned about these programs may implicate the president's executive orders, they should consult OMB. And so essentially what I think happens is someone turns it off so they can freak everyone out and make everyone look bad. Mm-hmm. Okay. And boy, did people freak out.
God.
AOC, Trump shut off Medicaid.
Just like a hose, he closed it.
8.5 million views on this. She says again later, Trump is holding all the nation's hospitals and vital services hostage to seize power from Congress and hand it over to billionaires. We must state the truth. This is a constitutional crisis. It's a massive illegal power grab that the House and Senate have a sworn duty to stop. Crystal ball.
Nope. That's not happening.
Crystal Ball says Medicaid spending is cut off in all 50 states, and the White House has no answer on how long this pause will last. As of now, Trump has robbed 80 million Americans of health care.
Robbed. Like,
Taken
even
it
if
away.
he did shut it off.
Yes. He robbed your opportunity to rob other people of their money. Just so we're clear, the money was robbed. And if you don't give it to that person, it's them that's getting robbed.
Yeah.
It reminded me yesterday of how difficult it would be. Let's say a libertarian president got elected. You still have a Republican Senate and or a Democrat Congress, a Republican Congress, whatever. But let's say we achieved our dream and we got a real libertarian elected to the office of the president. What do you think they would be able to do even in the first place? You think they'd be like, well, I'm going to go to Congress and I'm going to see if they could potentially shut off some of this stuff. I'm not going to. What you're telling me is, well, the people get freaked out about this. I saw some posts from Josh Eckel, our good friend, Josh, and he was like, no, I'm a classical liberal, but I believe in the rule of law and all that. I'm like, so what you're telling me is like a libertarian doesn't matter if they ever get elected president. They're not going to be able to do anything unless you've got the entire government libertarian at the same time. I start to wonder, like, what would they have to do? They probably have to use some executive powers to trim off some of this government fat, And
so you're saying they would have to do what Trump is doing?
They kind of have to do what Trump is doing.
So Trump is a libertarian president?
No,
is what you're saying?
No, I'm not saying that.
And you're running for the chair of the Libertarian Party?
Still not.
Okay.
Still not running for chair.
I just want to make sure I got all that right.
Kyle Kulinski says, breaking. Trump freezes Medicaid spending in all 50 states. This blocks health care for 72 million low-income Americans.
I thought it was 80 million.
Well, it's 72 now. They got that confused between, the wife, the husband and wife right there. Yeah, at this point, like, it was clear there'd already been plenty of statements saying, like, yeah, the portal's not working. It's not supposed to not be working. Just so you guys know, we didn't freeze Medicaid. That's not the point of this executive order, but these people just ran with it, and I find it super, super annoying. And
also, wasn't Ron Wyden is the guy who knew that James Clapper was lying?
Yeah,
because he's on the Intelligence Committee, I believe, and didn't do anything about it. So you can't trust that guy.
He's the one that he lied to, I believe. Wyden was the one asking the questions
and knew that
nothing ever happened after that.
Yeah,
the guy literally everyone knows that he committed perjury.
Exactly.
Literally everyone knows that.
Which lots of people go to jail for, by the way. Like, lying to Congress has been a big deal.
The guy who revealed that he committed perjury is on the run, has to live in another country because we'd end up hanging him on the White House lawn if he came back to the U.S.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's still the system we live in right now. Nina Turner says President Trump shut down Medicaid. This is what happens when a presidential candidate, when asked about health care, claims he has a concept of a plan. Meritocracy where? What does that have to do with Medicaid?
What
are you talking about? What
does merit have to do with it? I don't understand.
Governor Tim Stolen Valor Waltz says President Trump just shut off funding for law enforcement, farmers, schools, veterans, and health care. We are working diligently to reverse this, but we are preparing for every outcome to help Minnesotans weather the storm. This was literally it was almost like a natural disaster had just happened in the collective minds of all of the crazy leftists on Twitter yesterday.
See, this is the problem with all of this fear-mongering rhetoric. Like, they say that this is, what Republicans do or what right-wingers do, but it's like their whole entire base got worked up as if like a healthcare funding freeze hurricane swept over the United States overnight and is like millions and millions, much more millions of people than COVID were going to die due to this crisis, all caused by this fascist dictator who's a Russian plant. And so this is why he shouldn't have been president.
Another thing it made me realize yet again yesterday is that all of these programs, they're all someone's sacred cow, just a thing that you just can't get rid of. Every program, it doesn't even have to be Medicaid. Whatever the program is, Meals on Wheels, that's a great program. It helps a lot of elderly people get food and stuff like that. But But for a few hours, they were like questioning whether or not Meals on Wheels was still going to be funded or whatever, or they're going to have to submit a paper that says that they should be funded.
The OMB literally said, "Hey, check with us."
Yeah, they're like, it could be unpaused in a day. By the way, you just send us. Here's the thing. Here's what we do. It's not DEI. It's not the Green New Deal. Okay, you're good to go. Cool. That's it. Stop making them sound more base than they actually are. Okay, they're going to turn almost all of it back on. They're going to trim out like $300 million worth of stuff. All right,
maybe $300 billion.
We'll see. We'll see what they trim out. But it made me every single one of these little this women's crisis center people. They're upset. And like, how do you? These women, they're in crisis. They need help from these people, and you got to look at them and say, crisis. Nope. The crisis goes on.
No funding.
No funding. Meals on Wheels. I know those people need some food, but
by the way, there's still another
what
law.
What are you supposed to do?
There's a law called EMTALA where you can't even ask about funding.
No,
you have to provide care first.
You have to.
So, if women are in crisis medically,
well, they're talking about they're like getting views. They're looking for a safe house. To go to, like that kind of thing. And
allegedly,
what I realized, allegedly, no one's been, haven't been proven guilty in a court of law yet. All of these things are someone's sacred cow that can't be touched. And every single time someone discusses the funding for them, or even pauses their funding for like 10 days, everyone freaks out. And that's why it is so hard to ever cut any of these things. Who wants to be the guy that votes to cut that funding off for the old lady waiting on her meal and the little styrofoam
what kind
thing,
What kind of steward are you of your organization if you can't even last a day without funding?
Like, you're telling me you had to get that money today? You needed it today. You didn't have a day's worth of money?
No cash on hand.
No cash on hand at all. No, people were clearly just freaking out to freak out.
Have you not? I mean, I feel like you've abdicated your fiduciary responsibility for your organization by not having some cash on hand to be able to continue operations if you lost funding for less than 24 hours. Like, we can't open our doors, no funding. Like, when do the checks hit? I mean,
apparently yesterday is when all the checks were supposed to go out.
Okay.
They were waiting for that direct deposit yesterday on Tuesday.
Is this like a daily deposit or something?
All right, we got to go. You got some work to get done, and I'm going to keep watching this RFK hearing and all that stuff. But
it was a fun episode, though.
Yeah, it's fun stuff.
All right, y'all. Well, if you enjoyed it, then share the show with a friend, a family member, foe. Leave us a rating and review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. I signed up for a press pass with the White House, so.
Nice.
We'll see if Good Morning Liberty is able to ask questions, or a question, or at least be in the room. That'd be cool. Trying to get Nate to sign up too, so we have 2 chances of potentially being invited to the White House as a news outlet. We cover the news every day. That's what we do. I don't know if we have enough followers. This might go to people like Joe Rogan or Tim Cass or something like that.
How crazy it would be if you had a room full of like.
If I got a call.
I'm just saying, like,
I'm telling you, I'm taking it.
In the press room, you got Joe Rogan, you got Lex Friedman, you got Luke, We Are Change Luke, and like Tim Pool is in there, and just a bunch of podcasters in there asking questions. I mean, it'd be pretty cool.
It'd be cool.
I'd like it.
Yeah, I threw our name in the hat.
Hey, we could send Josh.
Yeah,
we'll send Josh, new guy Josh over there.
So anyway,
he could do it.
Do all the things I said. Visit the links in the show notes to support the sponsors that support this show. Maybe start a change petition to get Good Morning Liberty in the White House press briefing room if you want to. Maybe set up a GoFundMe for Josh to attend.
Yeah.
Washington, D.C. He's going to need probably protection.
Probably,
while he's there. I would imagine.
Mm-hmm.
You need probably at least 20 agents because people attack liberty there.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
Very anti-liberty.
Anyway, do all those things for Don't. I don't really care, but Nate does. And if you do, then he's going to run for the chair of the Libertarian Party.
Will not do that.
We'll be back again tomorrow. Hope you have a good day and a good morning, Liberty.